Hey, however you got here, I appreciate you clicking on this video, and I hope by the end of it you have enjoyed and you'll consider subscribing. Thanks so much. Do you ever feel physically fatigued from playing these games? I think fighting games are one of the rare genres that challenge you a lot physically and mentally, right? Execution being the physical aspect, and just the general gameplay of everything being the mental aspect. Another genre that kind of comes to mind when we talk about this is FPS, but that's more precise and you're using more of your wrist and your forearm. In fighting games, you're also using your wrist and your forearm, but you can sometimes be doing weird motions on reaction. Like, for example, quarter circle motions are pretty natural. It feels pretty natural to go from down the forward or down the back while hitting all the directions in between. But then you start to mix in things like DPing on reaction. So you're going forward and then down and then forward again sometimes. And that's not to mention the weird ones like pretzel inputs or Zangief 720. So even though we have the simple like quarter circle inputs, when you mix them in with the other ones that you need to know how to do on reaction, when you're like beginning and getting started, it's kind of hard to cycle through all of those. And so you're constantly testing your hand-eye coordination because you're looking at the screen and you have to confirm whether your opponent is jumping. Do I need to DP? Did I hit this move? Do I need to go into a quarter circle forward move? What needs to happen? And while our inputs might not be as precise as somebody trying to click ahead on Valorant or CSGO, our reactions both physically and mentally have to be almost as fast. And that can be very taxing. I first started to notice this when I was playing offline, when I wake up at like 2 in the afternoon, go to an event at 6, and then come home at 10 and pass out. And for me, I think at that time it was the social aspect of things, like going to an event, interacting with people, having to talk to everyone and absorb the knowledge that they're giving me. It was very tiring. And that's not to mention going home and trying to apply all this knowledge. But then COVID started to hit, and it was like there's no more offline events. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just playing online. And after a long play session, we're playing 20, 30, 40 games at a time, I started to notice the better I got and the better my opponents got, the more tired I would get and the less games I could play in a set. It was like when I was playing people who are weaker than me, people who obviously have not played as long or just aren't as good, I could sort of play on autopilot. Like I wasn't thinking very much. I wasn't using very much of my brain, and I was kind of just doing what I had to do to win. But then you hit a wall, like maybe you plateau or you hit a point where you don't know what you need to work on anymore, and you have to play against people who are better than you. And that might be hitting up people that you know in your community, or the rank system just pulls you up so high that you start to just lose. And then you feel like you can't progress. You feel like you're stuck in this rank. And so I felt like this had happened to me for a long time when I was in Plat, and I started playing like people way better than me, like Grandmaster, Ultra Grandmaster, whatever it is. I would just play people who are way better than me and lose like 20, 30, 40 games in a sitting. And after probably the first 10 to 15 games, the little hamster in my brain is running at full speed, and we're coming up with nothing. Like I don't even know what to do at this point. I'm just losing. Like everything I try is not working, and I'm still thinking of all these options, and eventually you kind of just get overloaded and you give up, right? You start getting diminishing returns. I'd say at about 15 to 20-0. And that's really when the mental fatigue starts to hit, is when you've overloaded, you're done. You can't think through these situations. You've gone through every possible solution your brain can come up with, and it's just time to stop it and lab things out. At least that's how it is for me. I know there's people out there who sit there and get a second wind and go down 0-50. That's not an exaggeration. I've seen people sit at a set and lose to somebody 50-0 until they figure it out. And if that's you, if you can grind it out and brute force it to a solution, I admire that. But that's just not how it is for me, and I think that it's important that people know that it's okay to not have to brute force a solution and just go lab things sometimes. It seems like a lot of people who came from the arcade era sort of didn't have training mode, right? So the way that they know how to get through problems in fighting games is to just brute force their way through it and play 50, 60 games. The only real time that I feel like I can play that many games these days is if I'm playing against somebody who is my level in whatever game we're playing. It doesn't even have to be Street Fighter, like whatever game we're playing. If we are of equal skill, that's when I feel like I'm not getting fatigued, because we're constantly one-upping each other. But when you're just getting completely bulldozed by the other person, I start to feel tired because I can't find a solution. There is no validation to this time that I'm spending, like I don't feel validated until way afterwards, after I've labbed out the problem or have asked the other person what I should do. It's kind of that zoomer brain, you know, you want that instant gratification and that instant dopamine hit. When I first started, it wasn't quite like that because the concepts that they were teaching me I could implement like really fast because it was very simple things. Like at first it was like, you should walk and block more. Okay, I'll just walk and block more, and it was that simple. But then as you get better and better, things start to get more ambiguous, and like you have to really think through problems. It's not so cut and dry. And then if you want to surpass the people that you're learning from or that are teaching you, you have to find your own solutions sometimes. And that's sort of where I feel like I'm at. Like I feel like I've got a good fundamental understanding of what I need to do, and I want to come up with my own solutions, and I want to ask questions where I need them, but also figure out things on my own. You're playing with so many things on your mind, like you want to try this, you want to do that, maybe this will work here, I need to input this like this, like because I play hitbox, for example, and when I play a character with a DP, trying to do DP from crouch, I mess it up a lot. A lot of the times, for some reason, I miss an input or something goes wrong somewhere and I get a crouch heavy punch. And usually this is fine if a character that I'm playing has a DP and a good crouch heavy punch anti-air, but majority of the time that's not the case. Like if I'm playing Sagat or I'm playing Cammy, their crouch heavy punches will just go straight and then you'll eat a whole jump in. I guess you could say it's still my System 2 thinking. System 1 is like my autopilot, and System 2 kicks in when I need to manually like take over. And a lot of the great players that you watch have System 1, like in their System 1 thinking is I need to DP anytime I see them leave the ground. And it's just a matter of programming your muscle memory to do that. But I think that's going to be it for me today. I know we got kind of off topic, but I think it's alright. I think everything kind of pertains to the topic at hand. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing.